Hi! Goodness gracious, hello again. Yeah, I had I had a very, very long nap after yesterday. I was very tired. Like, I don't know why, but I was anticipating all this stuff so much, and it just completely exhausted me. So I spent most of today resting. But yeah, I thought since the debut stream was really scripted and stilted, and I talked about a lot of stuff for sure, but it was all kind of tied to a script. So I thought, why don't I just like get in front of the camera, talk about some random stuff without a script, and just kind of see how that goes. And here we are. I have no like planned talking points or anything. It's just going to be what comes to my head, and we'll see how far we can go. First thing I wanted to talk about is the lore video, which I actually put up yesterday after the debut stream. And man, is that video so cryptic in hindsight. Like, yeah, you can tell what's happening in the video for sure. There's me getting up, going outside, getting hit by a truck, and then ending up in a completely different place, and like this factory and this creepy scientist dude. But yeah, like you get the gist of it. But like, what is happening? What is happening? So I did actually want to speak a little bit more about that video, because again, it's really cryptic, and I do have a written like story to go along with it. It's just I can't really show that much in 2.5 minutes, and I was on crunch time because I had to get everything like done and settled by the time that I debuted. So it wasn't as involved as I probably wanted it to be, but I don't know, I still like it. It's just there's details missing that I thought I would talk about here. So yeah, the original story was it's gone through about 3 or 4 revisions, but I think what I have now is pretty concrete. The original story was like I was just a normal guy living a day-to-day life, just doing what came naturally, waking up, either going to work or taking the day off, like just spending time living, you know, just being a person who lives, not a special like celebrity or important individual, or like someone who's about to go change the world or something crazy like that. I was just a normal guy doing normal guy things. And on that specific day, what happens is he decides on a whim to just go outside and enjoy the rain, because yeah, I like rain. I like rain a lot. Speaking of, it's actually raining right now outside. Yeah, but I like rain, and I wanted to incorporate that. So I thought like having a rainy setting would like characterize the first bit a little bit. So yeah, that's what I did with it. And what happens is like he goes out into the street, and like on the street there is this weird watch, just completely placed anachronistically, like it doesn't belong. It looks freaky and completely like it shouldn't be there. And he goes and looks at it, and then like when he picks it up, it reacts in his hand, and like it obviously a normal watch wouldn't do that. So you look at the watch, he looks at the watch and he goes, what am I looking at right now? What is this? And yeah, so that I'll explain a little bit more about the watch in a bit, but I wanted to get through like the main details. And then he doesn't realize he's in the middle of the street, so a big truck comes, smashes him, full-on isekai cliche, yeah. But in this case, I don't get isekai'd. I just die. So yeah, the truck hits, and it blows off my entire right arm and half my head, as the doctor guy says. A really hard collision. Really hard collision. And then, yeah, I'm in the middle of the street, dying, if not already dead. And then, like, the people who I guess created the watch come and find me, and they take my body and they take it to their facility, and they like pump me with rejuvenation fluids, and they fix my arm, which is why it's robotic, and they fix my head, which is why it has this big plate, this prosthetic plate on the right side of my head. No, I almost said left side because I'm looking at. But yeah, and then I'm there in the facility. I haven't been fully like started up yet, and he gives me the whole rundown of like, yeah, this is the watch that you found. This watch is really special to us, and because of your association with it, you're now stuck with us. And that's how I started working for the facility. They kind of forced me into it, and now I'm here. They probably won't see this because I'm out of their direct line of sight for now. I'll explain that too. But yeah, I actually do own that watch, and that watch is really special because they put me on a task force that lets me jump through time. Weird, I know, but they managed to. I don't know what tech they have. I don't know what era they came from, but whatever it is, they're so far advanced that I would never be able to conceptualize like any of that. So yeah, they like let me keep the watch because they knew that I had nowhere else to go and nothing else to do, and they had me under their thumb for obviously a really long time, based on the fact that I'm over 200 chronologically, if I did my math correctly. But yeah, they're currently, I guess employed isn't the word. I'm sort of like not a henchman, but like I'm a special task force operator. I have to do specific things for them, and they have to like make me do specific things for them. But the watch that lets me time travel, I have complete control over. Like they obviously have forced me to do stuff for them, but I can do whatever I want with that watch. So at one point they gave me a mission to come back to a specific time frame, and they wanted me to take out some really important member of this like government somewhere. I actually don't remember, because now I'm sort of I've been like free from them for quite a bit, and I honestly don't care. If they see this, they ain't doing anything because I'm completely out of range right now. But what I did as a smart person was I used that watch to go back in time 30 years before I'm supposed to do the thing I'm supposed to do. So I'm here now, and the thing that I was tasked to do happens 30 years in the future. So I have 30 years to do whatever I want, which is super cool. And that's why I'm here, as you can see. But yeah, there were perks. I won't say there won't. There were perks of them like recovering me. And one of them is I have lived a very long time. I've lived a very long time. I don't know how long I'm going to live for. I don't know when or how like they decided to give me what feels like an infinite lifespan. I doubt it's infinite because I'm still very biological, and I have like human body things that I have to worry about. I'm sure most people do. But yeah, that is one huge perk is I can take as much time I need for anything because I have all the time in the world. Obviously, I want to get stuff done sooner than later because like sitting on your ass and not doing stuff sucks. So yeah, that's one big perk. Another big perk is this arm is super strong and it can do a lot of different stuff. I'm not gonna explain what it does right now, but as it stands, it is a half prosthetic, half metal arm with a split in it. And it's a lot stronger than my left arm, which kind of sucks because I'm left-handed. I am left-handed. And every time I go to grab something with my left hand, it feels normal. And every time I go to grab something with my right hand, I'm like, why is this so light? This doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I kind of wish my left hand was stronger, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't lose it because that would have sucked. Anyway, yeah, and then the plate on my head is just because half my head went missing. So they fixed that, and now I have a whole head again. No brain damage, surprisingly. Just like part of my face and half of my like temple was gone, but the brain's still good, obviously. Because if it wasn't, I probably wouldn't be talking. I'd probably be comatose. But you know what? That things happen, and that's where we end up. So yeah, that's just delving a little bit deeper into the lore behind me, and like what I am, who I am, why I'm here, stuff like that. And I don't know. I think it's interesting. I'll definitely flesh it out more as I go, because I love lore, and writing stories is really cool. So if I can like write a proper filled out story, I think that'll help. I have told you like most of the basics of like what's going on. But yeah, if I add more to it in the future, I'll definitely add more to it. So like a lot of the time I notice when I'm on Twitter, which is where I like mainly engage with stuff, a lot of stuff is shifted time-wise quite a bit. And I'm like, why do I see a bunch of stuff when I wake up? And there's a reason for that. And the reason that all these times are weird and like tweets and engagements come out at weird times is because I am not in my home country of the United States. I actually live in the US normally. I'm on the East Coast, so that's why everything's in EST, because that's a time that I have lived with for most of my life is EST. But right now, I'm actually in Japan. Actually, yeah. So, yeah, my time scale right now is JST, so every time I have to like do scheduling and tweets and things and like looking at other people's activity, I always have to shift everything 14 hours because JST to EST is so rough. Like I have family back home. I do have family. I do actually have family. Weirdly enough, I do. I know that all the time traveling seems like I wouldn't, but I do. I have family back home that there's a 14-hour time shift, so I have to like call them, and when I call them, it's always morning for them and night for me, and I'm about to go to sleep and they're about to get up and start the day, and it's so freaky to have to do that. But anyway, yeah, I'm actually in Japan, and I'm here because of a it's a program, and the program allows me to like stay over here and study for some time, which is why I'm actually here. It's for like study and work. But yeah, no, I've been in Japan for quite a bit now, and like seeing everything from the outside, like being a U.S. citizen, and then coming to Japan and seeing everything that's like seeing everything that you thought you knew, and realizing that a lot of it isn't as like crazy or over exaggerated as it looks, was kind of a shock to the system, because it's normal. Japan is normal. It's not super over exaggerated or crazy or like God's gift to Earth like a lot of people think it might be. But yeah, it's been actually kind of nice to be in Japan for a while. I'm sure the guys over at Trash Taste would have a lot to say about like living in Japan, because that's where they are right now. Anyway, so what is it like in Japan? Most of my time I'm spending like living alone and figuring out the nuances of that, because I've been living with my family for pretty much my entire life, and coming to Japan and like having to do everything myself was definitely a shock. And I'm not the richest person in the world, so figuring out how to do finances completely by myself has been kind of rough, but you know, I get by. I do what I have to. And honestly, a lot of it's super convenient. Like, if you need to pay for apartments, rent, like house bills, stuff like that, you go down to your local convenience store and just hand them the slip, they scan the barcode, and that's it. And it's super cool. But yeah, couple things about Japan. It rains. It rains all the time. I mentioned before it's raining. It's raining. It doesn't not rain. And we're about to go into the winter season, and it's going to snow instead of rain. So that's going to be a fun time. But like I don't know. I don't like to compare and contrast all that much, because I just focus on the day-to-day. So I think one big thing that shocked me about coming to Japan and being here is is that like the garbage disposal is super well organized. Super well organized. In the US at least, where we just have like general trash and recycling, and that's all that we organize. And the general trash goes to the landfill, and recycling, I actually don't know what they do with it anymore. I've been told a million times that they actually recycle it, but I don't know what to believe, because yeah, trash is a big problem. But in Japan, at least, again, I don't know a ton about like Japan's trash situation, but I do know that they separate burnable trash from non-burnable trash, and then all plastics go in a separate bag. So you have 3 bags already, and then you have a separate bit where any recyclable paper products or cardboard products you wrap up and you leave them separately. And they have like specific days where they come and grab all your trash, and it's just so convenient. As someone who tries to be somewhat organized, I at least take pride in that I can organize. I don't know, it's really nice. It's really nice to like pay attention to stuff like that. So yeah, that's the garbage situation. I told my family about this too. I just think it's super interesting how they do garbage and stuff. Another thing is the food. I'm not a foodie, but the food here is pretty good. It's pretty good. I've had a bunch of different stuff. I've had tonkatsu ramen, which was fantastic. There was this spicy beef bowl I had when I went to Tokyo that was absolutely delicious. Pretty sure the restaurant I went to was a tourist trap, but it doesn't matter anyway. And the serving sizes here are a lot smaller, which is good. Because I've always been scared of like overeating or binge eating or stuff like that. I'm still scared of it even now, living alone. But like having serving sizes be smaller just gives me peace of mind because it allows me to like pay attention to stuff like that. So yeah, that's a huge thing. When you go shopping, you have your own like shopping bag, which seriously, every country should adopt that because it is so environmentally friendly and so efficient, and like you can carry pretty much everything in one bag. If you're buying food for one person, you can carry everything in that one bag. And yeah, like I go to the supermarket, I get everything I need for the week. And yeah, no, it's really pleasant. And a lot of the food is really crazy to look at, to find out about. Like there's this one bag of potato chips that I swore when I bought it for the first time was like a barbecue potato chip, and that's what it tasted like. But then like as I've been buying it more and more, I realize it's not barbecue. It's like a Japanese spice called karamucho, which I have no context for, but it's absolutely delicious. It is, I cannot get enough. It is such, it is a, like, that's one thing that I will absolutely binge eat, no question. 110%. But yeah, so so that's like the food situation at least. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I've always, at least for the past 7 or 8 years, been really interested in Japan, and I always wanted to go. And I actually managed to get onto a study work program that I really wanted to get onto, and they gave me the opportunity to to come over and just be here for at least a while. And that's kind of why my setup's a bit jank right now, is because it's a portable setup. I'm not gonna be here for a long time. I'm only gonna be here until I think August. And then I come back to the States. And there are 2 things. Actually, there are like 3 or 4 things that I miss about the States. One is I have slightly better internet over there. Slightly. Everything seems stable here for now, which is cool. So there's that. But over in at my actual home, like where my family is, we have pretty good internet. Like one of the few really good things we have is good internet. And I do miss that a little bit. And another thing is I have better equipment. I have better equipment back home. I have a better microphone. I have a better PC. And yeah, I definitely missed that. I knew I couldn't take it with me because it was a lot of stuff. But yeah, when I eventually go back to the States, that's probably why I'm not going to upgrade anytime soon, is because when I get back to the States, like I'll have a huge boost in quality. And it's going to be a while, but you know, for the time being, I can make do with what I have. What were the other 2 things? Well, obviously my house. I miss my house. I do. This apartment's great, and I have absolutely no problem living alone. I'm a very solitary person, but I miss my house. I miss the comfort of my house. Yeah. And I think, yeah, no, that's like the real main things. The other things are like super minor, and I could live without. Like, oh, I don't have a car here, so I can't drive. But in the U.S., I do have a car. At least it's on lease. But I do have a car, and I could drive, and I miss that freedom a little bit. But walking places is not a problem. I wouldn't say I'm healthy, because I don't eat healthy food, like I said. But I'm not unhealthy, so I can walk places, which is nice. But yeah, that's like a majority of my like experience, my living situation. I've been to a lot of places in Japan so far, though. We have, thankfully, with the program that I'm on, it's mainly like a as much as you can sort of thing, and I elected to have quite a bit of free time, which is why I started doing this. I'm obviously still like busy behind the scenes, not just with this, because I do other stuff, and eventually, if all goes well, I might get like a proper job. This is a hobby on the side, but that's besides the point. Yeah, so the like I had quite a bit of free time, and I still kind of do. So first thing we did, because it's not just me, it's a couple other people who I am in touch with. First thing we did was we went to Tokyo, and I wouldn't say it's not all it's cracked up to be, but if you're not a fan of like general city life, you're not gonna really be a fan of Tokyo, because Tokyo is very much just big city, shop, eat, shop some more, eat some more, look at all the pretty billboards, and yeah. More specifically, I went to Akihabara, because of course I did, and I wouldn't say I really wanted to go, but it was like a bucket list thing, and I was sort of dragged there by my friends who really wanted to go. So I couldn't say no, and obviously it's a great opportunity, so I was like, yeah, sure. And so we hopped on the train, we headed down, and we spent, what was it, like a day and a half? It was nice. We saw a lot of like the classic, that's cool stuff. Like there was oh man, I do not remember the name. It was the Gundam shop. I just don't remember the name of the company. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to anyone who likes Gundam. I don't remember the name of the company, but it was all the Gundam figurines, and they were showing off the new Gundam series that was coming out. I don't remember the name of. My memory is so shite. But we also saw like a bunch of different figurine stores, and we went and saw a couple exhibits, and we went to the mall because yay, shopping, you know? But like there are just a lot of cool shopping things to do in Akihabara. I'm not a huge shopper. I think the word's frugal. I'm very frugal with spending, where I don't like spending a ton of money on stuff because, you know, keeping my finances in check. And man, do they really encourage you to spend in Akihabara. There's so much stuff you can buy. And it's just ridiculous. I bought a couple souvenirs. Like I bought an art book of Fate Grand Order, which I was a fan of Fate Grand Order. I have spent money on it. Not one of my greatest financial decisions. I regret it to this day. But the character designs are awesome, and it's also history, and I like history, and it's just cool. So I bought an art book of it. But yeah, I went to what was it? Good Smile Company, where they do figurines, Figmas, and the acrylic stands and stuff. And I didn't buy anything because they're all crazy expensive, but it was just cool to actually be at a Good Smile for once. And we also went to a Melon Books, which, dear Lord, that was where I got the Fake Grand Order, but dear Lord, they set that up to where you have to look at the R18 section if you want to check out. And I was so uncomfortable. Because like the like western half of that Melon Books was all like normal stuff, art books, like classic doujin stuff, not like obviously H doujins or anything crazy, but like classic doujin stuff, music, doujin circle music, different artists and stuff, a whole section on Hololive because of course there was, and then the other half near the register was the R18 section. So you literally carry everything that you want to take from the Melon Bookstore and when you're about to check out, and you have to stare, whether you like it or not, at all the unsavory things around you, for lack of a better term. And yeah, I was very uncomfortable. My friends were not. My friends were like, let's go look at the R18 oh god. If there's anything I could go back and change, it would be not being in that R18 section. But I will say, I'm not uncultured. I know my way around things. I just don't like talking about it very much. And I do slightly regret not buying the full volume of what is it called? Solo Pippi's Solo Pippi's Moth Girl booklet, because I don't know, I have a fascination with that character quite a bit, for better or for worse. It's super dark. Like, the story is super, super dark, but the character design is awesome. And if you know, I'm sure a lot of people know, if you know Ecocider Juniper Actias, she took a lot of cues from Solo Pippi. At least that's what I would assume. I haven't watched her in a little bit, but she's such an inspiration. Girl goes nuts with models and things. But yeah, that's probably where the moth obsession started. Kind of a creepy place to start in. But I do actually like moths with a bug properly, because they're very pretty, and like silkworms and silk moths are very, very beautiful creatures. But yeah, it started with that Solo Pippi thing, and I kind of regret not getting it just to have it. But at the same time, I would feel very ashamed if I were to ever show that off, because it's definitely something that I associate with and no one else would. And if you open it up, it's like, oh my god, what the hell? Why do you have this? And I would go, I don't know, it's something I have, and the conversation would just go downhill from there. But yeah, that's about as far as I'm gonna go with like talking about stuff like that, because I don't like the sex thing. not a huge fan of that topic very much. So I'd rather avoid talking about it. But hey, I thought I'd bring it up because I did go to a Melon Books and it was there. Yeah. Other than that, oh yeah, that's right. I went to what was it? Ochanomizu, which is right next to Akihabara. And I mentioned to my family when I came to Japan that I wanted to buy another guitar over here. I had the budget for it, so I wanted to buy a guitar, and I went. Ochanomizu is a wonderful little section of Tokyo, and there is what they call Guitar Street halfway down, and they have so many different instruments on Guitar Street, not just guitars. There was a whole like brass instrument shops where they had saxophones and trumpets and trombones on the walls, and that was super cool to see. There was an acoustic guitar shop, a piano shop, a bunch of really cool stuff. And like on both sides of the street, there was just so many shops. But I had one place I wanted to go to, and I went all the way down Ochanomizu, almost to the end of the street, and they had a little alcove. I had to figure it out first because it was advertised, but I had trouble reading it. But they had a 4-floor shop, like in an apartment complex, and the second and fourth floor were general like guitars, and I think the fourth floor was like bass guitars, but the third floor was lefties, and I went straight there. They didn't have very much. They had a lot. Like they had some really good stuff, but they didn't have what I was looking for, which, you know, buying guitars in person, it hit or miss with being a left-handed person. Kind of the downside of it. But they had two that I was really interested in. One was a 7-string Schecter guitar, which huge fan of Schecter. And the other was an 8-string Schecter guitar. I picked up the 8-string first. I don't know why I picked up the 8-string first. Maybe the more strings sounded cool. Maybe I really wanted to just play more of the Doom soundtrack. Who knows? But I picked up the 8-string first, played it, and I was like, wow, this guitar is really cool. It's also kind of cheap. I was surprised because it was kind of cheap. This guitar is really cool. And I played it for a bit, and I was like, yeah, this is similar to what I have at home. And I was really contemplating on it. Like, I was thinking about it for sure. But then the thought hit me. What am I going to do with an 8th string? What am I really honestly going to do with an 8th string? So I put the guitar back. Yeah. Not a great decision per se, but I don't know. I thought about it after the fact, and like what am I smelling? Is someone cooking something? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the 8th string, like, I don't know what I would do with it, because I like extended range guitars for sure, which is why I looked at the 7 and the 8 specifically. But again, I'm not sure what to do with an 8th string. At that point, you're going into a bass guitar range, and yeah, all the new like bands, like metal bands that come out nowadays, like the gent stuff and the metalcore deathcore scene, they love their low tune guitars. I mean, there's memes all over the place about it. But my dad taught me how to play guitar, and he comes from a very classic rock background with just E standard 6-string, just vibe and pentatonic scales, and I don't know, having 8 strings seems a little too much to me. So what I eventually decided to do was I picked up the 7 instead. 7 was a little bit more expensive. Again, I had the budget for it, but the 7 was a little bit more expensive. And I played it, and I played it, and I played it, and I played it, and I played it. And I realized that, yeah, this is the one. This is the guitar. So I had a nice conversation with the guy who was selling it, and he was a really nice dude. He was actually from was it Brazil? I think he was Brazilian. Obviously, like he was Japanese, but he was also Brazilian. If you didn't know, there's a huge like Brazilio-Japanese community in the world. I don't know the exact history of it, but I know like culturally it's a thing. But he was a super nice guy, and we had a conversation about like I really like guitars. I like having 7 strings instead of 6 because it gives me more range, but 8's too many. And this is the only one. This is the only 7 you have, and he goes, yeah, this is the only 7. And he did something super nice when I was buying the guitar. He restrung it for me, and I've bought musical instruments in the past. I've like saved up and bought a couple, but I've never seen that before, where someone just restrings an instrument for you. That is super nice. And I kept his business card because he was just such a cool dude. But yeah, that's the guitar I actually own. I have that guitar in person. It's actually right next to me. I played it. That was that bonk on the debut stream. It was me picking up the 7. It is hooked up into my PC. I don't have an actual amplifier. I would like an actual amplifier at one point, but I don't have an actual amplifier. I just use a digital one. It's not super high quality, but I really wanted some sort of amplifier to play like distorted guitar music, and I got one. So that's how I ended up with that. And when I played on stream, I'm a bit disappointed in the improv, probably nerves. But I don't know, I liked it. And yeah, the way that it's hooked up is I have this interface plugged into the guitar, and then it goes through the digital amplifier and it plays out to direct stereo sound. So you were hearing like exactly what was coming out of the digital amplifier, which was a super nice surprise when I was setting everything up, because that means if I ever want to do like a proper guitar stream, I have the ability to do it. And yeah, no, I'm super happy about that. And like that experience buying the guitar I'll never forget that, because that was such such a fun time, and that was like a major highlight. Excuse me. That was a major highlight of the trip because I spent most of it kind of being dragged by my heels around all over the place to just see different shopping stuff, and that was the one time that I went off by myself because I was like, I have a mission, and I went and bought a guitar, and I came back with it, and I love the guitar I bought. It's so cool. But yeah, other than that, oh yeah, we went and did karaoke at the very end of the trip because you can't go to Tokyo and not do karaoke. You can't go to Japan and not do karaoke. And like I said, I sing a bit. I'm not super confident, and I'm not a huge fan of the sound of my own voice. But yeah, we had a fun time. Nobody was drunk, nobody drinks, but I swear there was some level of drunk energy in that room when we were singing because they sang, what was it? They sang 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton in the most broken, destroyed sounding way I've ever heard in my life, and I could not stop laughing. I have a video I recorded of them on my phone. It's just, it was so funny. It was so funny. But yeah, after the karaoke, we stayed at a hotel for a night, and then woke up and did a little more touring. We went to a big like multiplex tech and like convenience kind of store. They were selling all different stuff on all different levels. One of them was like new computers and phones and things. Another was like sound systems. They had a music and record shop, a Studio Ghibli shop, which I actually bought a Kalnashi crystalline figure from. Super cool. And they had, what was it? Yeah, they had like a game store. Not quite a game store, but it was like toys and games and things. And they had gachapon, which if you've ever gambled, they love their gachapon. And they had a big old advertisement for Pokemon Scarlet Violet, which just recently came out. And in hindsight, the advertisement for Pokemon Scarlet Violet, I looked at it and I turned to my friends and I was like, man, this Pokemon game actually looks pretty good. And now looking back, I go, yeah, I probably should have expected less. Not to say that that Pokemon Scarlet Violet is a bad game. Everyone's saying it's one of the most fun they've had with a Pokemon game in years. I've seen it all over Twitter, and seeing all the glitches and stuff is very funny. But yeah, in hindsight, I probably overhyped it for sure. But yeah, that was like a majority of the Tokyo trip, and we had a good time for sure. Would I go back? Probably. I don't know if I'd go to the same place in Tokyo. I might go somewhere completely different. Like, we were about a stone's throw from Disneyland Tokyo. I'm not a huge fan of Disney, mind you, but like going to Disneyland Tokyo would be a very, very cool thing. At least to just be in Disneyland Tokyo. And then we came back to where I'm staying right now. There were a couple more places I've been. Like, I met a couple people and we went to Niigata City, which, for those who don't know, Niigata is on I think it's like the northwestern coast. Yeah, it's about the northwestern coast. It faces the Sea of Japan, and Sado Island is off the coast of it. And it's another city. Like, again, I'm getting dragged all over the place to all these cities, and I'm not a city person. But there was some nice places to go in Niigata City. Again, we went shopping because what else are you gonna do? And again, it rained. It rained again because it never doesn't rain here. Ow. But there was a little bit less to do in Niigata City for sure. we went to like a manga history shop, and I read the 2 volumes of Bao by Hirohiko Araki, which was like the prequel series, like the series he wrote for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that was really cool to see in person because I knew about Bao, but I had never read it, and it was really, like, it was a really surprisingly good story for how short it was, and you can tell it's Araki because it's his old art style. But yeah, we did that. Again, we ate. We went to a different mall, and then we came back. We had another fun day trip. I don't know. I just like hanging out with friends in Japan. It's a nice experience. Other than that, though, I've just kind of been like focusing on my studies and keeping up with like making sure that I stay healthy and I feed myself and I clean my apartment and I'm, staying hygienic and stuff, and just, keeping an eye on my health and things. So, other stuff to talk about. Yeah, space. I retweeted a space thing and I mentioned it in the debut stream. I am a massive, unending fan of space. I love science. I love learning about science, but I especially love space. I can sit on YouTube and I can binge watch like space channels like C and Astrum and stuff, and I can just sit and watch and watch and watch and watch and watch, and I will never get tired of it because it's just so interesting to learn about physics and space and things. Like, for instance, there are celestial objects called quasars, which they sound kind of like stars, but they are very much not. They are the antithesis of stars. A quasar is essentially like a really large, incredibly dangerous black hole that existed in the universe's past. So like 11.5 billion years ago-ish. And they are super massive. So they're billions and billions of times heavier than the sun. And they send off, again, the way that space works is the further something is away, the older it is. And they send off massive waves of energy towards Earth. And the energy that we see is how old the quasars are, so like 11.5 billion years old. And the only reason that we know about them is because we pointed our telescopes up at blank parts of the sky, and like gravitational lensing and the way that light is bending around certain objects, people have said there must be something there. And the only explanation would be some sort of super heavy object. And that's where we got the idea of quasars. On that same topic, science has speculated even earlier that there's this thing called a quasi-star, which seriously sounds like science fiction. It might possibly be, because there's no proof that they exist. But it's essentially a star that has gotten so massive that it has a black hole in its core. So you might be wondering, how does that work? I honestly am not quite sure how it works. I think the direct gravitational force pulling everything in is like working against the like radiation of heat moving outwards, so it's sort of equalizing the pressure that's pulling the star into itself. And they definitely don't exist now, because if they exist now, we would have seen one. They're they're extremely massive. They're bigger than even the biggest stars that we know of. And yeah, like the way that it works is the black hole at the center is slowly eating the star from the inside out, almost like a parasite. And eventually the star does like implode on itself and become a quasar. But for the time being, like the star uses that immense radiation coming off of the black hole to keep itself alive, even though the gravity is pulling it in really aggressively. So yeah, those are just a couple like space things. that I find super interesting, but also just generally like subjects on space. It honestly doesn't matter. You talk space with me, I will be so invested. Like I saw recently NASA launched the Orion space probe to the moon, and we saw the backside of it again. I think we had seen it before. Not sure how long ago we had seen it, but they sent the unmanned spacecraft back to the moon for the first time in quite some time, and it's doing crazy gravitational like lassoing around the moon to get back to the Earth. And I saw a diagram of how it's going to go around the moon, and I think to myself, how do they come up with this crazy stuff? And like the window of time that they have to be able to do that stuff must be so narrow. So all this stuff that scientists are talking about, and like big space corporations are talking about with like going back to the moon and going to Mars and things, I now fully understand why it takes such a long time to do stuff like that, because you cannot predict how small that window is going to be unless you follow the movements of the celestial bodies like perfectly. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of space. When I was much younger, I wanted to be an astronomer first. I decided against that because, yeah, it's a great profession for sure, and I have great respect for astronomers, but I feel like being so dedicated to the scientific field would be sort of detrimental, and there wouldn't be that many opportunities. So I decided against it. I'm still massively into science and space, don't get me wrong, but like that career path, I don't know, it sort of died in my eyes. It's like when you're a kid and you say, I want to be a celebrity or something like that, or I want to be a firefighter. And again, nothing wrong with celebrities, nothing wrong with firefighters, but society kind of steers you into a more realistic direction sometimes. For those who actually became firefighters, props to you. You're saving lives. Keep doing what you're doing. But you get the idea. So I pivoted away from like directly stuff with space, but I've always really liked space. Like the history of space, how things are discovered, why things are discovered, space physics, all that stuff. To the point where I have a favorite celestial body. It's Saturn. I love Saturn. It is such a beautiful object to look at, and it is so distinct in the night sky. If you pull out a telescope and you look for Saturn, you will see it, because it's one of the only objects in the sky that's not round, because of its rings. So you'll see this like spherical object, and then it like stretches out at the ends. And if you get like a really distinct look at it, it's got rings. It's got rings. But yeah, like that's my general fascination with space, and like following. I've again reinvigorated my love affair with space by hopping on Twitter, because I mainly just use Twitter to keep up with content creators but now I'm actually using it as a proper platform, even though it's currently in a very tumultuous state. But let's not talk about that. But yeah, like seeing all the unique, like seeing this like I don't even know what to call them, the space community. Who knows? Just seeing really interesting stuff on technology and space on Twitter. It's just so cool, because people are just involving themselves in a science that I've always been interested in, and it's just if I could go to space, I would. If I could be launched in a rocket to space and see what space looks like, I would, 100%. But you know what? Being on the Earth's cool too, for sure. Other things. Oh yeah, I mentioned in the debut stream, I like philosophy, and I wasn't sure how to like say that in a short sense. I think I managed, but to put it more like in a little bit more detail, I've always been a very introspective person. Like, I'm always a big thinker. I always think about things. And philosophy is sort of an outlet for like understanding the world around you. And I like to know things. I'm a very big knowledge person, as you can tell by my love affair with science. But it's just, I don't know, philosophy does a lot for me, much like psychology also does a lot for me, because those two fields tend to intertwine a lot, because a lot of it is like the study of the human condition, and like paying attention to how people behave, what people think, and understanding like why is super, super crucial. There's a lot of people nowadays who, obviously everyone has an opinion. Everyone has things that they think about. Everyone has statements that they make. But some people don't like think about what other people think. They're very focused on like their own ideals. And most of the time when people get into arguments about opinions or like things that they think are true, there's never a question of why. It's always a question of how could you possibly think like that? Where I like to take a step back, and if I see something that I personally don't agree with, because I don't agree with everything, if I see something I personally don't agree with, I ask why did they come to that conclusion? What are their thoughts on this? How did they end up there? And a majority of the time, it actually gets me to understand the situation a little bit better. To give you a very black and white example, let's say you're talking with somebody, and you have like extensive knowledge on the color of the sky. This is such like a classic example of like opinions and how people can try to change your opinion for the sake of themselves. But anyway, let's say you have extensive knowledge of the sky, like you know that sunlight hits the atmosphere, scatters because of all the molecules present in the Earth's atmosphere, and the scattering of sunlight tints the sky blue during the daytime, and the sky, at least to you, is blue. Now, someone else can come along and say, that doesn't make any sense. The sky's clear. The sky doesn't have any color. And instead of going, no, that's wrong, that you can't possibly believe that, I would rather go, well, why do you think that? Like, please, like not in a condescending way, but like please explain how this guy's clear. Like, I want to know. I really want to know. And most of the time, people don't explain. I wish that they did. But a majority of the time, people don't explain. And it's not, I don't dislike people for not explaining stuff, but it does disappoint me, because I want to know things. I want to know how people think. I want to understand, I want to understand society. I want to understand how people develop opinions and where they come from. And I get a lot of, well, that's just the truth. And like, no, it's not. You have to like explain to me why. Please, I can explain to you why. I want you to do the same so we can have a proper discussion. And the internet loves not doing that. But I don't know. I like people. I have faith in people. Like I said, Twitter's in a very tumultuous situation, and there's a lot of that being thrown around, of like people not having the full story, and instead of asking why and understanding, everyone's just like angry all the time. But hey, you can't make everyone agree on the same thing. If everyone agreed on the same thing, life would be boring anyway. You need some discourse. You just need it. But yeah, that's where philosophy comes in. I took a couple, not a couple, maybe one class in philosophy, and another in psychology when I was in school. And it helped me understand not only myself, but also like the world around me. And I've always, like I said, I've always been introspective. So understanding like where people are coming from, understanding how thoughts are created, like perspectives on the world and like how to live your life and stuff like that. I gained a little bit of knowledge on that, so I'm genuinely interested in that sort of thing. And that's why I like philosophy, at least. What else was on that? Right, there were a couple other things on that list too. I mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, and I briefly mentioned I've had a couple campaigns with some really talented people, and I have. I don't just fluff things up for the sake of sounding more interesting than I am. A lot of what I have said this whole stream has been 100% the truth. But yeah, when I was in school was my first exposure to my first exposure to Dungeons and Dragons. And back then I had like a fleeting interest in it because I had never really seen anything like that before, where a bunch of people get together and just start role-playing. I definitely knew what role-playing was because I wasn't immune to the internet. I've been on the internet for at least 2/3 of my actual life, so I know what role-playing is. But I had a very fleeting interest in Dungeons and Dragons because I never like involved myself in like getting together and playing a tabletop game, because I don't know, I'm a very digital person. I like playing games digitally. But it was my first exposure to like a proper campaign. And the first one I ever did, I had like one of the best DMs at the school I was going to. And it was a lot of people's first experience. And we had a fantastic campaign. It was so cool. If I remember correctly, we were an adventure group in an old... It was high fantasy. That was the theme. We were an adventuring group in an old city where the head... the head wizard was actually a death slod in disguise. Like the head high wizard was replaced by a death slod and was like secretly trying to bring back this eldritch being. And we didn't know that she was an eldritch. The evil high wizard was a death slod until we like snuck into her quarters to like scavenge an item for a specific quest. And we learned she was a death slod. And then like that unraveled this whole like multi-layered like story of how we could get in there and like dismantle this thing before it destroys the entire like city. There were a couple really funny bits I remember in that campaign. One of them was when we got to the final dungeon. There were what were they? It was like they were water-based life forms. They were like sentient water-based life forms. I don't remember exactly what it was, but the way that our dungeon master described them, everyone thought they were seals, like lion seals. So when we were talking with them, because we had like a very small conversation in whatever tongue it was, I don't remember. We just kept making seal noises, and everyone just started derailing everything. Oh my god! And I just remember because it was actually the funniest bit. So we were talking with these water creatures and joking that they were seals. And who was it? We had a chaotic neutral turtle man. I don't remember the exact race because this happened quite some years ago. I haven't played D&D in a while. But we had a turtle guy who is a chaotic neutral fighter monk. And he was really posturing on them. Like he was being very, very uncharacteristically rude, and I don't remember exactly why. But like the seal dude was like a really high level sorcerer. Again, I'm calling him a seal dude because that's the best way I can remember him. And he literally like, I don't remember the exact words that were said, but like our party member goes, like he was really posturing on him, and then the seal dude like used a magic thing, and then our party guy started getting physical, and the seal dude says, I'm not even kidding, that was not very cash money of you, and then casts silence on the whole party, and we just died laughing. And I will always remember that moment from that campaign. D&D has such great moments like that. I think I remember my first D&D character. I think I was a high elf archer, like middle-aged. I had a kid who I hadn't seen in a while, very estranged. And I was just kind of living out in the woods in a log cabin. And then I got pulled into the adventure. And then when I get to the city, my son is working for that evil wizard Deathslot. And at one point, the way that the Deathslot worked was they have to like corrupt other people by, I think it was like implanting them with tadpoles or something like that, and it turns them into Deathslots. And like my son was under threat of that because he was working right under the evil wizard, and we were estranged, so it was like impossible to tell him that he was in danger. But eventually, like, we saved him, and he continued to work in the city. And the conflict didn't quite resolve because it's kind of impossible to resolve an estranged family member like that. But I remember that was like a big part of my character arc, and that was my first character too. I didn't play into the role super heavily. I did on my next couple of characters, but that first one I'll remember because it was just such a great experience. I do eventually want to play Dungeons and Dragons again. I don't know when I will. I don't know who I'll play with, but I would love to some of the time just play a good game of Dungeons and Dragons and just have a fun time. I mean, I'm already I'm kind of not, but I'm already playing a character, so it's not really hard to play another character, right? Yeah. All right. I think with that, I've exhausted a lot of my talking points that I wanted to, and I've kind of rambled for more than an hour now. It is, like I said, I'm in Japan, so it is very late for me. It is quite late. And I have what is it? I have an early class tomorrow, because, again, study. So I think with that, I'm going to call it here. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my ramblings for about an hour or so. On Friday EST, I'm going to be playing Portal 1 all the way through. So yay, I can finally play a video game and have fun with it. But for now, thank you so much. If you're watching the VOD, hey, hello, nice to meet you. Thanks for watching. And with that, I'll catch you some other time. Bye-bye.